the brush strokes, the canvas, the paints, and more had piqued his interest. Subsequently, he'd started examining all the paintings and sculptures he came upon. Given his birth and social connections, their number had been legion. Once he'd come of age, he'd gone travelling on the continent, looking and studying and learning. He'd stumbled on his first forged sculpture in Florence. Months later, he'd exposed a fraudulent Da Vinci sketch from the Comte de Milan, and had been about to buy for a considerable sum. The art world wasn't that large, and word had got around. Subsequently, others, collectors and museum curators alike, had invited Godfrey to pass judgment on this acquisition or that. Over time, his reputation had grown. A month ago, he'd been contacted by the recently knighted Sir Charles Eastlake, president of the Birmingham Society of Artists, newly elected president of the Royal Academy, and erstwhile keeper of the paintings and long-time advisor to the National Gallery. To Godfrey, Eastlake was something of a legend, a man whose status Godfrey aspired to, and whose goodwill he knew he would be wise to court. Indeed, it would not be overstating the case to say he craved it. Earning Eastlake's imprimatur would be a milestone in Godfrey's life. On behalf of the National Gallery, Eastlake had commissioned Godfrey to examine the painting a Mr. Hinckley of Hinckley Hall, North Yorkshire, had offered to sell to the gallery. The painting was purportedly by Mariotto Albertinelli, a master painter of the High Renaissance, the period of artworks on which the gallery focused. Eastlake and the gallery directors were eager to finalize the acquisition before the end of February. Godfrey assumed they hoped to include the painting as a draw card in their spring exhibition. Consequently, he'd set out to brave the gauntlet of Yorkshire in the height of winter. He'd debated driving his curricle north from London or taking the train to York and hiring a conveyance there. After consulting with Wally, he'd elected to drive. They'd made decent time along the Great North Road, halting at Stilton the first night and spending the second at Doncaster before setting out early this morning and travelling through Boroughbridge to Ripon and out along the lanes toward Hinckley Hall. Although the skies had been overcast throughout the journey, the clouds hadn't thickened to ominous until the turn-off to York. A vicious gust of wind caused the bays to skitter. Godfrey steadied them, then urged them on with a flick of the reins. "Gov, I really don't like the looks of them clouds." Godfrey raised his gaze to the grey and cloudy but otherwise unthreatening horizon. He frowned. "Which clouds?" "The ones racing up behind us." "What?" Swivelling on the seat, Godfrey looked back. At the roiling mass of charcoal grey swallowing the sky and bearing down on them. He knew the worst storms in the area came from the east, racing in off the North Sea. Damn! He faced forward, but given the uncertain surface of the minor lane, the horses were going as fast as he dared run them. Having one break a leg wouldn't help. "We'll just have to hope we make it in time." A minute later, Wally said, "There's snow, and the storm's bowling straight for us." Second by second, the light dimmed, fading to a portentous gloom. Godfrey felt the curricle shift as Wally resettled his scarf and coat, no doubt hauling the collar high and buttoning it all the way up. "Here," Wally reached over mittened hands gesturing. "Give me the reins and get yourself buttoned up. There's no escaping it." Grim-faced, Godfrey complied. As he buttoned the collar of his greatcoat, the first snowflakes whirled about them. 10 seconds later, the blizzard struck in full force. Within 2 minutes, the road ahead was blanketed in white, and the surrounding fields had vanished behind a veil of driven flakes. The air turned freezing, sharp.